knew I wasn't the only one. I knew there were other people out there who likes that sound in games. Since you're all here, do me a favor. Flex your audio setup in the comments. Be honest. Now we already soundchecked Half-Life 1. Time to do so with Half-Life 2. That was released 6 years later, and which is a full-blown emotion-focused drama. And you know, this game doesn't start with a cutscene. It starts with a sound. When you start the game, first soundtrack, Shadows Fore and Aft, fades in, which is basically Lab Practicum mingled with anti-mass spectrometer and Gordon's heavy processed breathing. Valve starts messing with your limbic system right away by giving you a little nostalgic hit. So, G-Man returned Gordon from stasis. It's time game further tell us what's going on. Right after you exit the train, the first soundscape kicks in. The ambient soundtrack, Dr. Breen blabbing through his propaganda screens. You see people depressed, lost, hopeless by the words they speak.
Were you the only ones on that train?
Okay, we start to get the idea of what's going on. You go forward, meet your old drinking partner, and get picked on by some guy in the uniform, who sounds like a broken toy, and he even dared to mockingly order you to... That's the famous combined radio chatter. Valve step by step keeps introducing the world. And as you're Gordon Freeman, you to save your dignity. No, actually you'll do that a bit later. Now we enter the square. Gordon gets a first glance at the Citadel, and another eerie soundscape accompanies the impressive look. Flicking scanners, walking people, combine chatter. Imagine this with different sound.
Let us consider the fact that for the first time ever, as a species, immortality is in our reach.
After watching that striding, we walk into the children's playground. No kids, just their echoing wail. Gordon remembers life before all this. The whole beginning quickly immerses you into Half-Life 2's world and paints the background of what's going on. And sound plays a huge role in all of it. Kelly Bailey. A one-man sound department, again. With just a bit of help here and there, he designed a brilliant system that was a massive leap from Half-Life 1. He essentially laid the conceptual DNA for what we now know as Steam audio. By 2004, hardware-accelerated middleware like EAX and A3D was already on the brink of extinction. The industry was moving away from dedicated audio chips and relied on software mixing. This is where the Miles sound system comes in. Valve licensed Miles from Rad Game Tools to handle the hard work. It acted as the universal translator, taking Kelly's high-level physics data and turning it into sound on any cheap motherboard without needing an expensive sound blaster card. This transition allowed for automatic DSP. It can be also called as a co-location engine. As you move, the source engine constantly pings your surroundings to measure the room's volume and wall materials. It then hands that data to Miles, which mixes everything and sets a specific effect on every sound in that space in real time. Even though computers were much faster, optimization was very important. Not today though. Miles' sound system was extremely efficient. Decoding MP3 soundtracks and playing 64 channels at once took about 1% of a single CPU core. It was so efficient that in the retail version of the game we had this infamous stutter bug. Engine was loading all the data from slow IDE hard drive, and Miles in the meantime was repeating the last 100 milliseconds it had in its buffer until it was loaded again. Kelly also saved memory by putting two sounds far and close into a single stereo wave file. Let's see the waveform. Barrel explosion. Left one is bright, to your face. Right one is distant, muffled one. The engine isn't loading two sounds, it's just sliding a volume fader between the two channels instead. Even though that means it's two mono files in one, you still hear it spacious because of all effects applied to it. A genius trick, bravo. Even with perfect echoes, the world would feel dead without Soundscape system. Imagine an orchestra conductor who points his stick at each section and tells them what when, and how to play. This game is always filled with sound, and it changes based on exactly where you are. When you cross a certain point, conductor Kelly tells the engine in a text file to start executing a combination of sounds designed for that specific area. Soundscapes are randomized to some degree, not just in the timing but in the pitch and the volume too. A bird will never sound the same twice in a row because the engine is randomizing how high or low that chirp should be every time it triggers. It's a genius trick. Instead of one giant heavy audio file looping in the background, you have a tiny text file conducting a bunch of small sounds to make the world feel infinite. This also saved time drastically. Instead of mapping sounds manually, Kelly just places a soundscape trigger. Since Valve was still a relatively small studio during development of Half-Life 2, they outsourced a lot of the recording to pure audio. They didn't just schedule and record guys like Mike Shapiro, but also provided Kelly with high-quality physics sounds, the kind of stuff he obviously couldn't record in his office. This gave him high-resolution raw material to work with. We don't really see those crusty 8-bit 11 kHz files from the 90s anymore. Almost everything in Half-Life 2 was bumped up to 16-bit 44 kHz aside from a few legacy sounds kept from Half-Life 1.
Morphine administered.
Half-Life 2 gun sounds have been analyzed to death. I'm not going to bore you, but in my opinion they scale exactly the way they should. The more delete potential a gun has, the more powerful it sounds. The 357 revolver hits with a massive sound just like a hand cannon, while the 9mm pistol sounds like a stapler. Then you have the SMG, which is a rattly toy compared to the pulse rifle. Valve didn't care about realism. They wanted the guns to read in the mix. Everything is tight, punchy, and instantly recognizable, even if it's totally stylized. Gun sounds were also randomized in pitch and timing. It was a thing in Half-Life 1 too. The combine weapons are the interesting part. They're almost entirely synthetic. Now let's check the waveforms. The pistol has that classic squared off pop that's an actual microphone clipping from a real gun being fired too close to the mic. And meanwhile, the AR-2 has no ballistic impulse. The waveform just ramps up smoothly. It's a purely designed fake sound, which is exactly why it feels so sci-fi. Everything is clipped and compressed to hell to make sound aggressive. It works, the shots stay clear and never gets buried in the mix. Of course, I have to mention the Buggy. There's this specific hit of excitement when you sit in it and that old-fashioned V8 style engine kicks in. It's just beautiful. If you dig into the game files, the sound folder is literally called V8, and the sound design for the Buggy was built using high-fidelity samples of late 60s Chevy Camaro. The idling alone has so much personality, so let's just appreciate it together for a second. Well done, Valve. It seems like everyone in City 17 has the same father. The faces, the voices. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why didn't they just hire more actors? But we have to remember, Valve wasn't the juggernaut they are today back then. Gabe Newell has since admitted.
The company was pretty close to going bankrupt. I was pretty close to going personally bankrupt. We went all in. It's like there was no money left.
Every extra voice actor meant additional expenses, a mountain of extra work, casting, recording, and the storage space on 2004 hard drive. Face was cheaper to buy though.
This is great. I think this guy's Eli. We brought him in and, paid him a couple $100s, which is what we were paying people back then, and so that's where he came from.
Then there are the ragdolls. The physics were groundbreaking, but the impact sounds, not so much. When a body hits the floor, it plays this goofy rubbery thud that sounds like a wet basketball. Half-Life 1 Flash Splash was disgusting but so good. Valve probably kept it soft to keep the age rating down or to avoid audio spam when the body bounces 20 times around. So, sound in this game reaches your ears instantly, no matter the distance. If it would be done like this, it would be cool, right? Now, I'm not a hardcore engine expert, but I guess to do it right, the engine would have to keep a waiting list for every single sound in the world. If a strider fires from far away, the engine has to hold that sound in its brain before playing it for you. In 2004, this kind of buffer management would have melted the CPU. Plus, let's be honest, if there was a delay, half of the players would have complained. So, Valve played it safe, relying on DSP tricks to create illusion of distance. Mr. Kelly Bailey returned with his signature Half-Life style, ambient, dark and industrial. But since the sequel is more dramatic, he brought some melodic emotional pieces too. The mixing was much better, it's louder, punchier and feels physically heavy. Kelly was still using zero-G sample libraries, a middle finger to his critics. Soundtracks, by the way, were also a part of Soundscapes. Some of them were triggered at certain moments and was used like you would use it in a movie. Well done, Kelly. It is totally forbidden to play this game on bad sound equipment or with the sound muted. If you do that, half of the game is gone. Half-Life 2 still looks and sounds amazing to this day. It's been more than 2 decades since release and we're still talking loudly about it. Now, even more because Half-Life 3 is on the way. So, that's it for this episode. I really hope you liked it. Leave a comment below if you have any insights about the sound design of Half-Life 2, and please click that like and subscribe buttons for more. I wish the next episode would be about Half-Life 3, but oh well. We'll check Alex, which is exciting. So,
see you when I see you.